Okay, so let's get a start. We're going to work on the immune system. We're going to tune the immune system up for you, but we're also going to get your mind going into a super relaxed state of rebooting well-being. So this is effectively an immune system boost and a reboot, a well-being reboot. Now, an important aspect of any routine that's designed to enhance the activity of any part of the body system, which this is your awareness of where the parts of the body are that we're working on. So we're going to actually show those so that you actually know what you're working at. So, for instance, if I were to ask you to concentrate on your hallux, you might have a problem if you don't know what it is. It's actually a big toe. But if you didn't know what it is, as soon as I said concentrate on your hallux, you'd find yourself thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to focus? As a result, I'm going to make sure that you're all completely aware of where the various parts of the immune system are that we're going to be working on, because otherwise it just won't be as effective. So this is an easy and effective routine for a general immune system tune up. It's simple. It isn't intended as a medical intervention, but to enhance the work of your autonomic nervous system. And the important elements we're going to work with are the thymus gland, the adrenal glands, cytotoxic T cells, regulatory T cells, and helper T cells. Now, as you are all aware, T cells are very much in the news at the moment because all the vaccine manufacturers and indeed scientists and researchers, they're all looking at the role of T cells, and it's beginning to look as if it's T cells which create the best immunity for the current problems that are around. So we're going to be working on T cells. So together, these components give you a formidable weapon against infection. And if we can increase their activity, we'll create the best possible immune response. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to give you a description of each. Cytotoxic T cells, they're the killer T cells that you've seen in the press quite a lot of late. They destroy virally infected cells. They're a form of leukocyte if you're medically minded. Regulatory T cells, their task is to shut down cytotoxic T cell reactions after the immune system becomes effective to avoid the onset of an autoimmune disease. If the regulatory T cells don't do their job, you end up with an autoimmune disorder, the cytokine storm, and that's what we seek to avoid. Helper T cells act as go-betweens between the innate immune system, that's the immune system that we're born with, and the adaptive immune system, which evolves as a result of our coming into contact with viruses and bacteria to help ensure that every defense is used. Now we're going to make sure that you know where the adrenal glands and the thymus glands are. So I'm going to put an image on the screen here to help you recognize it. The thymus gland, I'll get my pointer out so you can see exactly where I'm pointing. There we are. The thymus is here. It's a very irregularly shaped gland. It's not a nice, tidy, oval, round, or square, or spherical thing. It's just a very untidy lump, a blob. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And kidneys, you no doubt recognized lower here from the back view. They're more visible now from the front view. So now if you're medically trained, I will say that what follows today is extremely basic. I'm not trying to teach all the ins and outs of the complexities of the endocrine and lymphatic systems. That would take much more than the time that this is, and also would be very boring for most people. But this is just to show you how we can employ psychology and creative visualization to boost the system as far as possible via this simplest possible form of psychoneuroimmunology. Now, the thymus is at its most active during our formative years. And as a matter of interest, it's often indistinguishable from surrounding tissue in old people like me. You could have a look inside. You probably wouldn't be able to distinguish where the thymus was. Might be one of the reasons why the elderly are more prone to ill health. But the mind and body knows where it is and what it does, and that's the important thing. Blood cells are produced in bone marrow and enter the bloodstream via an extremely fine network of vessels. And once they're in circulation, the killer T cells have to be matured and activated by the thymus. One of the largest areas of bone marrow is in the pelvis. And while I'm talking to you, you can just let your thoughts drift around the hips, since doing that will tend on its own to start the process of immune system boosting as you focus on one of the origins of all blood cells. So just allowing your mind, just a little pause for a moment, sending your mind down to your hips. Doesn't matter where you're thinking, the front, back, side, or whatever, all around the pelvis area. Send your mind down to there. because that way you're actually sending your mind into an area which is so important, because that's where the majority of cells come from. So much of the time as you get older, the thymus tends to shrink. And so if you're old like me, you may think you haven't got one, but don't worry about it. Whether you have or not, we don't know. It's impossible to tell. It may have just assumed the same tissue as the surrounding tissue. But the important thing is the brain knows where it was or is and what it does. We need to get it to be as active as we possibly can so that it can do what it's designed to do best, which is to make sure as many killer T cells as possible are in your circulation. There's no need to worry about the two other types of cells at this stage, because they're in a kind of automatic mode and will do exactly what they're supposed to do when we work on the thymus. You don't have to understand exactly why or how it works. Only focus intently on the idea of it doing its job properly. But it's not just the thymus we want to work with, because the adrenal glands have to play their part too. And those are roughly pyramid-shaped glands on top of the kidneys, and you can see them on the screen here at this section here, little triangular things, which I didn't draw very well, I have to say, but that's roughly what the adrenal glands are like on top of the kidneys. Okay, roughly pyramid-shaped glands on top of the kidneys, more towards the back of your body, just above the waist, while the thymus is in the front. When they're working just right, the whole system functions more effectively. If we feel stressed and anxious, they're too active, and that inhibits the immune system. You get an increase in cortisol from the adrenal glands, and the immune system drops as a result. If they're not active enough, there's simply not enough energy to get the best results. So the important hormone they produce, as I've just said, is cortisol. So part of what we're doing is to create the best possible cortisol balance for your personal system, and that alone can provide huge benefits for your entire system. Now, there's just one more thing we need to do, and that's to make quite certain that you can connect the neural threads from the control system in the brain to the thymus and to the adrenal glands. So I want you to put your fingertips on your thymus now, if you're convinced you haven't got one, where it was, okay, and press just hard enough to be completely aware of it. Now, if you prefer, you can tap. I prefer pressure. I like the feeling of constancy. Some people, especially if you're EFT or TFT orientated, might prefer to tap. And it really doesn't matter. The important thing is you're drawing attention to your fingertips and your brain on where the thymus actually is. You're pressing hard enough to be completely aware of it. The neurons that connect to the thymus come from the vagus nerve. That starts at the brainstem and runs down through the body and also from the spinal cord. So that's from roughly here and runs down to the body to there. It's not as thick as I've just drawn, I hasten to add. So a good idea now is, because I've mentioned it, you're probably already thinking about it. And while you have your fingertips on the thymus, touch the fingers of your other hand to the back of your head and just imagine that you're in some way strengthening that neural path, just as I'm doing here. Fingertips, if you can find a little cleft at the bottom of the skull, at the top of the neck, fingertips of one hand there. And as I say, you can tap on the thymus if you want to. Now, I always feel something happening when I do this. Not everybody does. But now you can move your hands away with your keyboard if you like. Who can actually feel some sort of energy there? I always do. And the second I do this, I'm aware of a kind of a closed energy circuit. And I actually feel an enhancement. Absolutely right, Lindsay, a charge, that's it. If you can, so much the better. If you can't, don't worry about it. But if you can, that means that you're going to have a much better chance of making this work. No, vibration and warmth, absolutely clear. And so you can do this anytime while I'm talking. When we get to the hypnosis part of it, of course, you'll drop them. But you can just keep them touching there while I'm talking, as you wish. The adrenal glands have a different nerve supply, and it's much easier to imagine without trying to get your fingertips into all sorts of awkward places on your back. And those neurons come from the curve of your spine just above your waist. And again, as I've talked about this, you can't do anything but send your mind out there and stretch out to either side. The right kidney, with the adrenal gland on top of it, is slightly lower than the left, by the way, because the position of the liver just above it pushes it downwards. Or more precisely, biology and anatomy has developed the right kidney slightly lower. So think from the middle of your spine out towards the adrenal glands on top of the kidney. It's best to do this without the fingertips on the vagus nerve and on the thymus for the moment. Think from the middle of your spine out towards the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. You can do them together, one at a time, as you imagine the nerve path. Okay, so what I want you to do now is to put your hands in your lap just for a moment. I want you to imagine tracing those nerve paths from the spine, from just above your waist, reaching out, either both together, one at a time, out to the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. Just make that vivid in your mind. I can almost feel you're doing that, actually. And now, while you're doing that, remember, don't do it for a moment. Remember how it felt when you placed your fingertips on your thymus and the back of your head. If necessary, you can do that again as a reminder. In fact, it's a good idea to do that again as a reminder. Thymus, back of the head, re-energize it, hands down into your lap again. And now remember the feeling as you trace the neurons from the spine to the adrenal glands. And again, do it as a reminder. And if you can hold all that in your mind without actually moving your hands, think of the thymus and either pressure or touch. The other hand, the fingertips on the origin of where the vagus nerve starts. Let's put me back on the big screen while we do this. Good. And the feeling as you trace the neurons from the spine to the adrenal glands. And again, just do that as a reminder. And before we go into the proper part of the work, what I want you to do now is just to experiment with that and to tell me, just give me a message on the screen to tell me that yes, you can feel, you can be aware of the neural pathways as if you're in touch with them. Excellent. I've got a top-rated class here. Excellent. Because you're going to be doing that shortly, actually, to keep you, to enhance the strength of it all. So now we're going to get into the real part of the work. We're going to use one of the oldest hypnotic situations for this because it's the perfect tool for the job, especially when it's preceded by a self-focusing induction based on the work we've already been doing. Now, what I need you to do is to set a timer for 22 minutes. I should be finished inside that time, but I certainly won't be longer than that time. And the reason for that is you are, without doubt, if you do this properly, you're going to go into a very good state of relaxation. You might even lose track of time, get time distortion, you might even fall asleep. If you set a timer for 22 minutes, that will then wake you up so that I know that I can sign off without wondering if people are asleep all around the world. Now, just to confirm, don't start the timer yet, but confirm that you've set it on your clock or a watch or a phone or your computer or whatever, and just type 22 so that I know. Oh, I see some of you are typing. Yes, if you type 22, I can't mix it all up. Good, that's it. Fantastic. Just in case you need it. Okay, good. So, are we all ready to start? Are we all ready to go into this wonderfully relaxed state where you're going to tune up your immune system and all you've got to do is remember things while we're there? Excellent. Fantastic. Okay. Good. So fingers away from the keyboard now and just settle yourself back and lay down if you can because it works even better that way for many people. But otherwise, just settle back, fingers away from the keyboard. Just close your eyes and just let your thoughts follow along with what I'm saying. Make sure you start that timer now. Okay. Close your eyes. Let your thoughts follow along with what I'm saying to you. You don't actually have to do anything or even try to do anything, since just because you hear what I'm saying, you'll automatically think of it and make sense of it. And that's really all you need to do. Just listen to what I'm saying and think of it and make sense of it. And an interesting thing that you might not have heard about is that if you imagine moving a part of your body, your arm, say, your brain actually responds as if you were really there, really were using your arm, even though you might not feel that happening. So if you imagine pressing your fingertips on that thymus gland or tapping, just as you did a little while ago, the brain will do exactly the same as it did earlier. And if you then imagine touching the back of your head with the fingertips of the other hand, you've probably already worked out that your brain will do the exact same thing that it did when you put your fingertips there before. And you might even be able to imagine the same feeling as you think of those things. It's absolutely okay if you're only remembering placing your fingertips like that. You might even find, for some of you, an actual physical feeling over the thymus on the back of the head. It's absolutely fine. And you can think for a moment about the neural pathways from the head down the vagus nerve to the thymus gland. Just imagining those neural fibers vividly for a moment or two. And then just thinking about the neural pathways from the spine to the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. Remembering that the one on the right side is just a little lower in the body than the one on the left. And as you think of those adrenal glands, your brain will be immediately connecting to those nerves. And soon, we'll be using those connections you've just thought about. The connections to the thymus and the adrenal glands. But all you need to do is what you've already done. And now you can imagine, as vividly as you can, that you're at the top of a beautiful, warm, softly lit staircase with 10 steps to go down, all covered in a beautifully soft carpet in your favorite color and design, with a wonderfully smooth hardwood handrail at the side. At the bottom of the staircase, there's a door. Behind the door is a room, and you know that this is a room that is somehow very special. In a moment or two, I'm going to count all the way down from 10 down to 0. And as I count all the way down from 10 down to 0, you can imagine that each number is a step on the staircase. Another step down into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. So that by the time I get to 0, you'll be as relaxed as you can ever be. 10. Take the first step down now. Plenty of time. No need to hurry. 9. Feeling more and more relaxed, moving down easily. 8. Another step down now into a relaxed calmness. 7. Imagining how it feels as your hand glides down that stair rail. 6. Going deeper now and deeper. 5. Feeling more and more relaxed. 4. Deeper still now. Still deeper. 3. Your breathing becoming slower now. Steadier. 2. A wonderful calmness just sweeping over you. 1. Almost all the way down now, just one more step to go to 0. And you find yourself in front of that door to that special room. Study it for a moment. Notice the color, design, looking at the texture and pattern of the handle, and understand that this room is always here for you in your thoughts. You can always find it just by going down that staircase of calmness and relaxation in your mind. And then you open the door and move easily inside the room. It's comfortable and warm inside here and softly lit, and somehow it feels absolutely perfect for you, as if it was created just for you. Make it truly vivid in your mind, catching the smell of it, the feel of it, as well as the way it looks, because this is a room where you can make wonderful things happen for yourself just by imagining them. In the middle of the room is a comfortable chair, the most luxurious and comfortable chair you've ever seen in your whole life. And you somehow realize that this chair is very special. And it's as you lower yourself into it that you discover that not only is it the most comfortable chair you've ever sat in, but it somehow has a special way of gently connecting with those adrenal glands. And you realize this place is where you can really enhance the way your entire immune system works. And it's easy to think about those neural pathways from the spine to the adrenal glands to get them into perfect balance. If cool was inactive and hot was overactive, You only have to think of a feeling of perfect warmth. And even as you think of it, you can feel your brain and body responding. And a perfect sense of calmness and easiness seems to surround you, as your brain already begins to adjust the level of cortisol so that it's exactly at the level that's perfect for you. And while all that's going on, just remember the feeling of your fingertips pressing against the thymus gland, and also the feeling of your other hand at the back of your head. And all you need to do is just imagine those neurons going from the brain down through the vagus nerve and gently stimulating the thymus gland to do its important work of activating those killer T cells. You might be aware of a gentle pulsing or a sort of soft vibration. Or you might not feel anything at all and just have an awareness somehow that your entire body system is settling into a perfect rhythmic enhancement of your immune system. The parts you know that we've talked about, and the other parts which work automatically without any need to even know about. And this includes leukocytes, the white blood cells that help to reduce inflammation. And this process will continue for ages after this session, just working in the background to keep everything as close to the perfect balance as it's possible to be. You can easily keep this process working at optimum efficiency just by going down those stairs in your mind into that special room to repeat exactly what we did today. But it doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfect, because the brain knows exactly what you want it to be. The brain knows exactly what you want the very moment you sit in that special chair in your mind. And it will start to do the very same thing, even if all you did was relax and just vaguely remember what we did. And it's as you reflect upon that, it's as if you suddenly feel light and free. And the most powerful part of your mind is suddenly able to imagine you can fly free as a bird, sailing on a breeze and gazing down at the landscape beneath you, noticing what looks like just a small gorge that has a sort of magical sort of feel that seems to draw you closer. And you find yourself drifting down and down and deeper, drifting down into a very special place, a canyon where the walls sparkle as if they're inset with gold or silver or precious gems, or perhaps quartz that reflects the rays of the sun. And on one wall of this canyon, there's a grassy ledge. And I don't know if this ledge is as big as a football pitch or as small as the room you're in, but your mind knows. And I know that somewhere on this comfortable grassy ledge, there's a special place just for you to sit and wonder at the marvel of nature all around you. With the sun from the clearest of blue skies just warming you, not too hot, just right. And as you look around you, you suddenly realize there are waterfalls. One of them so close, so majestic, you wonder why you hadn't noticed it before. And there's a gentle silver mist that just floats in fronds between the canyon walls. And in this silver mist, there are rainbows, some of them inverted upside down, and one of them like a giant orb of color, suspended, seeming just to float there somehow in the canyon, creating a wonderful sense of calm as you listen to the waterfall tumbling over the rocks and crashing and roaring its way to the floor of the canyon. Every so often, a small droplet seems to separate itself and hang almost motionless, spinning, sparkling like a liquid diamond, and reflecting the sunlight, every colour of the spectrum. It seems to you that you could almost reach out and grasp it, but in that same instant, you realise it would just become colourless water in your hand. And you watch in contentment as that diamond droplet gently finds its way back to the tumbling waterfall. And you can smell the fresh, peaty scent of the water. Feel the silky gentleness of mist against your skin. And you wonder at the fact that this river has been flowing for millions of years. Wonder at the fact that this river actually created the canyon in the first place, long before man walked the face of the earth. And it will continue to flow for millions more years, maybe until man no longer walks here. And you wonder how it would be to be like that bird again, soaring and wheeling over this place, swooping down to the river, then soaring up into the heavens, and with that sharp vision of a bird being able to look down on this magical place and see everything so clearly, and in its proper perspective, to see the majesty of life. And you observe a huge fish, a salmon, the biggest salmon you've ever seen, making its way to the foot of the waterfall. And you gaze in wonderment as this huge salmon begins to leap upwards through that majestic torrent of water, leaping, holding its position, its body just shimmying gently to hold its place in the water while it gathers strength for the next leap. Then another leap, and another, and another. And you hold your breath in wonderment as you watch the fish slowly but steadily approach the top of the fall. And then you feel a surge of joy as it makes one last final effort and leaps over the top of that massive waterfall. A surge of joy so strong that you feel compelled to follow. And you find the salmon resting in a tranquil pool, just drifting calmly and easily in a pool so tranquil, so serene, that you wonder how it could possibly feed that roaring torrent. And you drift back down to your ledge, your safe place, and realize that there are caves behind those waterfalls. Caves that you could visit in your mind to find answers to questions, solutions to problems. And as you ponder on these almost magical thoughts, you realize that in the special place where you're sitting, there's a beautiful feeling of total tranquility, an enchanting serenity that seems to flow through every pore, every cell, every fiber of your entire body, as though you're cocooned in some way in a special place that is yours and yours alone, a special place you can always find whenever you want to. A special place where you can make wonderful things happen for yourself just by imagining them. And as you imagine those things, it's as if you can see them reflected in the waterfall. Reflected in the waterfall so clearly, so distinctly, you can see yourself looking exactly the way you want to feel. And it's suddenly as if some special part of the universe somehow threads a thought, an awareness into your mind as a special gift. And it dawns on you with a sense of excitement and anticipation. There's an increasing awareness of your ability to turn a setback to an advantage. You realize immediately that it's a wonderful resourcefulness you've inherited from your ancestors of long ago. Ancestors who lived perhaps even in this very canyon, in times when only those who could move with what the earth brought are going to survive and thrive. It's an ability to look where you're going as well as where you are. A recognition that looking back only shows how you got here, where you are right now. And where you are right now is the very place you need to be to get the very best out of what you brought with you. and you can feel that resolve in your body. Locate it now. Be aware of it and the value of it, because it is a gift beyond price. I give thanks to the most ancient of your ancestors for it, and know that this very moment is the beginning of a fantastic new day, a fantastic awakening of your deepest skills and abilities. There's a growing sense of optimism and confidence that not only is this new day now fully dawning, but it's going to be an absolutely wonderful day, a day to equal any other you've ever experienced. There's something else that comes with it too, a sense of a new purpose, of a new resolve, a sense that no matter what yesterday or the days before yesterday brought, today is a special beginning. Now it's time to drift up from this beautifully relaxed place that you're in. Plenty of time, no need to hurry. And as I count from 1 up to 10, becoming steadily more and more aware, leaving your eyes closed until I get to 10. 1. Just beginning to get the vaguest sense of awareness in your arms and legs, perhaps, maybe fingers and toes. 2. A little further up, a kind of rousing from the deepest of sleeps. 3. A little further up now, vaguely aware of having been in some special place and aware that you're still partly there. And 4. Almost halfway up now. Almost halfway up to full awareness. And 5, halfway, pausing for a moment, scanning through your body, gathering your senses. 6, beginning to do the proper waking up bit gradually now. And 7, becoming aware of your whole body and how relaxed it is and how fantastically well you feel. And 8, and 9, almost all the way up to the top now, waiting in that bright white light of consciousness now. And 10, and open your eyes and be alert and aware, and type me something to tell me just that you're back and how you felt.